Did Bruce Lee leave us with a complete martial art, or was Jeet Kune Do always meant to evolve? Let's settle this once and for all. Hello, everyone. This is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Do Rebel. Welcome to the I Love Jeet Kune Do broadcast number 359. This is the one about, was Jeet Kune Do complete, or was Bruce Lee still figuring it out? As you're logging in, if you'd be kind enough to say where you're logging in from, hit the like button and feel free to continue doing so throughout the broadcast. If you're catching the simulcast over on the YouTube, please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell as well. But of course, the best thing you can do is to share this video and spread the word about the I Love Jeet Kune Do broadcasts. Okay, so before we get started, I made on Friday during the Jeet Kune Do dialogues, I made a quip about Ukrainians messing up all over the place. And it's because, like some of you might know, if you've been watching me for a while, the Be Live platform is actually a Ukrainian company. And so I had the stream set up for Facebook as usual and the YouTube as usual. And when I went live, I realized that it was not streaming to the YouTube. And so I made a quip about it. But then it was brought to my attention that apparently in other spheres of activity, there was stuff going on with Ukrainians. And so some people thought that my comment was directed somehow in this other sphere of activity. So it was brought to my attention. So let me just tell you that when it comes to the politics thing, the only politics to which in which I am interested is JKD politics. Okay. And then when it comes to JKD politics, the only aspect of JKD politics in which I will get involved is when or if it's something that's seemingly anti-Innocano. And then I'll jump, right? Full body in, not just like 2 feet, my full body. But that's it. So if you hear me say something about Ukraine or Ukrainians or whatever, I am merely referring to the people that I pay every month to run this platform. Okay, so that's that, right? So that's my disclaimer. So hopefully we never have to talk about that again, right? So let's get into Jeet Kune Do, the complete art. So this is one of the debates that gets JKD people fired up, which is why I'm doing it, right? Was it a done deal, or was he still in the process of refining and evolving it? Look, we could finish this discussion in 2 seconds, right? If people just pay attention, if people just believe what it is that they see right there in front of them. So some say that in 73, by 73, he had boiled it down to its purest essence, right? Stripping away anything that was unnecessary, focusing only on the most efficient movement, and leaving behind what he truly believed worked. And others argue that Bruce Lee was a lifelong learner. And so he was always searching, he was always questioning, and that JKD was never meant to be a final product. So in other words, the question remains, had Bruce Lee lived, what would have happened? So if we break it down, for evidence, we'd have to look at Bruce Lee's writings and his notes. What do those things actually tell us? We'd have to discuss how his approach changed from mid 60s to early 70s. We'd have to look at what his students, both early students and late students, what they said about his evolution. And then the big question, which I think is really the most important facet of this, is, can something which is based on personal evolution ever be finished? So let's get into that. So if you really want to know where Bruce Lee's head was in 1972 to 73, go back, look at his notes and his training logs. In the Tao, which, as you all know, was pulled together from his notes after he passed away, you can see both clarity and ongoing refinement. Some pages would read like he had it all figured out, and then others will show that he's still experimented. If you look in the bodybuilding book, where I had it here earlier, right? No, not Secrets of Advanced Bodybuilding. That's actually my Health for Life book. The art of expressing the human body. Right? If you look in there, you'd see notes on working out and what have you, and you'd probably see that he was perhaps tweaking his routines, right, and adjusting and testing ideas and what have you. So if Jeet Kune Do was complete, even the training aspect of it, why would he be making adjustments? Then there are letters that he wrote to a ton of people, including Ted Wong, Dan Inosanto, William Chung, Taki Kimura, James Lee, and he talks about refinement and shifting his approach and continuing to explore. So that does not sound like a guy who thought that he was done. So if there's no doubt that Bruce Lee had stripped fighting, therefore JKD, down to its like core principles, but his own writings do not suggest that he was sitting back and saying, that's it, I'm done, I got it all figured out. Because his martial art development didn't happen all at once. Track his progression from early 60s to 73, and you see that the early years, let's say 59 to 64, heavy Wing Chun influence, and he was still mostly working within that framework, but already questioning its limitations. 64 to 67 is, we could call that kind of the Junfan Gung Fu era. His first attempt at a structured system, like in the letter to William Chung, for example, Western boxing, fencing, Wing Chun, boy will it be it, or something is what he wrote in the letter, right? 67 now to 73, the Jeet Kune Do era, the rejection of styles altogether, including fencing and boxing and Wing Chun. This is when he starts cutting away excess movement and making things more direct and economical. But even within JKD, his focus still kept shifting. So in the late 60s, like you'll hear Sifu Dan talk about the 66 and the 67 trapping progression, right? So he was still using trapping, he was still using kicking, maybe even high kicking. But by 72 to 73, he was almost exclusively, from what I understand, about lead weapon striking, quick footwork, and controlling distance. So it's almost as if he went from emphasizing combination stuff to simple direct or simple angulator, like decisive striking, right? And incorporating more and more of the stop hit philosophy. So these are not minor adjustments. These are the signs of someone who's still refining, who's still evolving, who's still searching for the most effective way forward. And if you ask Bruce Lee's students, well, you'll get different answers depending on the time frame, depending on when they trained with him. So Dan Inosanto is mid 60s, and then late 60s to early 70s. And he's, to this day, says that Bruce Lee was constantly changing things up. One day you'd be working on something, and then the next day Bruce Lee would come in and say, forget that, we're doing it this way now. Ted Wong is early 70s, right? No, Ted Wong is 68 or so, I think. Get it right, Dwight, 68 to 73 or whatever, but says the same thing, that Bruce Lee was always experimenting, always adjusting. No, Ted Wong would have said that Bruce Lee had removed everything unnecessary, and what was left was the purest JKD. Jesse Glover, on the other hand, is the one that would have said that Bruce Lee was constantly experimenting and adjusting and would never have stopped evolving his art. So which is it? Was he done? Was he still refining? I say that based on what we do know from writings of his, it seems that Bruce Lee himself may not have viewed JKD as somewhat of a final, or even something with a final destination. And this is where it gets philosophical, right? Bruce Lee hated dogma. He rejected the idea of being locked into a system. He said, Jeet Kune Do is just a name. Don't fuss over it. My interpretation of that is don't fuss over the name. But I agree that we should fuss over the art, right? But even if you think about that, in writing that, that doesn't sound like somebody who is trying to create a set system. One of the core ideas behind Jeet Kune Do is that of growth, testing, personal evolution. So if it's personal evolution, how could it ever be finished? When do we as persons stop evolving? I guess if we go live in a cave or something, right? But even then, if you go live in a cave, you could be meditating every day and there would still be evolution, right? So here's a question for you. If Bruce Lee had lived, would Jeet Kune Do look exactly the same today? So now your image of what Jeet Kune Do looks like is what I'm talking about. And for a lot of people, the image of Jeet Kune Do is theatrical for Bruce Lee, and then functional or practical from whatever it is that you've seen from perhaps your instructor or whatever it is that you've seen in video clips of different people, right? Right now, just a couple of days ago, somebody on Facebook put up a clip of vintage Ted Wong, which drew some really interesting comments, right? So had Ted Wong lived, would he look exactly the same way? Had Bruce Lee lived, would he look exactly the same way? And this is where people get caught up, because some people appear to want a fixed system that they can copy and be done with, even though Bruce Lee himself said there's no such thing in Jeet Kune Do as a fixed system. Other people realize or recognize that Jeet Kune Do was never about reaching a final point. It is about constant discovery. And I know the detractors, the ones who would call people like me who think that Jeet Kune Do is not about reaching a final point, they'll call us style hoppers. Just because in somebody like me following Dan Inosanto, we took a look at different martial art methods because he was interested in stuff. He would go out and train in it. He would come back and train us in it. Some of us went out and trained in it on our own, right? Got certified in it and all that. But if you understand what the people who really got it, what they were doing, it was never about adding these styles to Jeet Kune Do and calling that evolution or whatever. No, I'll say it again because I've said it before. It was about finding the connecting thread, realizing how different things inform other things. And therefore, that's when Jeet Kune Do can become invisible, right? Okay, so we'll wrap this up. Did Bruce Lee finish Jeet Kune Do? Like other things, it depends on how you look at it. If you mean, let me just repeat this in closing. If you mean that he had stripped away everything that didn't work and left behind only what he believed was essential, then yes, you could argue that Jeet Kune Do was complete in that sense. But if you mean, did Jeet Kune Do have nowhere else to go after 1973? That Bruce Lee had reached some final unchangeable version of it? Then no, because the evidence says otherwise. And that's the crucial difference. The evidence says otherwise. Bruce Lee was a thinker. Bruce Lee was a problem solver. Bruce Lee was an innovator. He wasn't the type to sit back and say, that's it, I figured it all out. Plus, he was only 32 years old. Come on, man, right? Virtually, he was always in motion. And perhaps, philosophically speaking, that's the real message of Jeet Kune Do. It's not about arriving somewhere, but it's about the process itself. So let me know what you think. Was JKD complete? Was Bruce Lee still figuring it out? Please let me know what you think in the comments below. That's all I'm going to say in this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Follow me on Twitter at Dwight Woods and on Instagram at Dwight D. Woods, at paypal.me/UnifiedMA Miami, paypal.me/UnifiedMA Miami. The Jeet Kune Do Journey Volume 1, raw but edited version, is still available. PayPal.me/UnifiedMA Miami. You can also, in preparation for the launching of JKD drills, if you haven't yet, go over to the Facebook page and become a follower over there. Like the page and become a follower over there, so that when it's up and running, you guys will be first in the notifications. And that is it for today, which is a purple day. So there's the Easy Life praying shirt. I'm gonna be on the road this weekend, so unless I can pull off something, right? Unless I can pull off something because of the time difference, I probably won't come on the dialogues on Friday. But we'll see. We'll see, because I have something up my sleeve, but I don't know if I'll be able to pull it off, and I'm feeling like I won't be. So in that case, I won't see you until then next Wednesday. I'm on the road again. We'll see. We'll work it out. I promise I will not leave you hanging. Okay, so until next time, this is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Do Rebel, signing off. You guys enjoy the rest of your evening. Talk soon. Take care.